We are live. Mock Draft Mondays. I got my boy Chev over here, but before I turn it loose to him, we got one quarterback tonight, not your traditional Superflex startup that we always work with. But you didn't hear a what is good tonight. Our main man, Casey's not on the stream, and without him, I didn't feel like we would say what is good, so you won't hear what is good. If he was here, he would say what is good like he does, and like only he knows how to do. So anyway, my boy Chev over here, I'm going to turn it loose to you. We got one quarterback, so it's, instead of 4 pink blocks in a row like normal, we're rocking with Jamar Chase, and we're rolling from there. What you got, my main man, Chev?
Man, any day on this side of the dirt's a good one. I'm anxious. I don't do very many one quarterback mocks anymore. So just being able to talk through this will probably help me in some of my OG Dynasty leagues and kind of see what's what as far as player values go, so I can go rip some people off with some trades, brother.
Yeah, exactly. I was telling Casey the other day, I said, you know what? It was cut down time for FFPC, so I had to get back in there and wrap my head around it. We do have some Superflex leagues in FFPC, but a chunk of one quarterback leagues. And, we just kind of live in the Superflex space now, but one quarterback leagues was the originals, the OGs, like you said, and we shouldn't put them all in the back burner. It's interesting. It's fun. We already got 2 quarterbacks here in the first round, so I disagree with that. However, before we start naming all these players off, I will say, being one quarterback, if this was a few years ago, Chev, I would have just said, hey, I'm going to be the last one to take a quarterback.
For
There's
sure.
time was back in the day. My buddies, when we had the live drafts back 15 years ago on the paper, just having a good time. Like they would just say, hey, BigCo, you don't even have a quarterback yet. And I just rolling out there with whoever. Ended up with ending the season with Kurt, with the dude that was on the Cardinals, Kurt Warner.
Kurt Warner, baby.
Picked up Kurt Warner for a championship run. But anyway, that was way back before there was a book called Late Round Quarterback. But
yeah, that guy ruined everything for us.
but now, especially in FFPC, because they play victory points, but even in non-FFPC leagues where it's one quarterback, like I was saying, a couple years ago, I would have been the last one to take quarterback every single draft. Now I'm going to be looking for my opportunity, Chev, to strike on I probably don't know if I'm going to pull the trigger and be the guy that takes the first quarterback in Josh Allen, but I'm not saying I'm completely against it, but it would have to be later than mid-first round. I'm talking, if it was 3rd or 4th round. Even in Dynasty, for me, taking Josh Allen in the first round in a one quarterback league is too early.
It's entirely too early, man. It's just not, you're not returning value. You're drafting him, you're drafting a quarterback at their ceiling, and the replacement value you can get from even doing, even like a Lamar Jackson, like we have in the 2nd round here, is just, I mean, you limit the ceiling of your team when you can get a just an absolutely magnificent freaking skill player like a Malik Neighbors, or Brian Thomas, CeeDee Lamb, Amon-Ra St. Brown. You're limiting yourself, and you're banking on that guy absolutely just having a historic season. Josh Allen's a pretty good guy to do that with, make that choice with.
When it comes to historic quarterback season, somebody like Josh Allen's been doing it the last couple of years with his 15 rushing touchdowns, etc. He has been he's the first guy on your list when you pick out who's most likely to score 50 fantasy points today. So he does change the game. Him, a Lamar Jackson, not as much Lamar Jackson anymore because Lamar's not running quite as much. His touchdown passes are sick, but when it's like Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, those guys that are doing the tush push from the one, when Josh Allen rushes for 15 touchdowns and he's throwing for 30 something, he is going to score the most points in your league. So again, I want a difference maker at quarterback, but I'm honestly shocked that 2 quarterbacks went in the first round. This one quarterback mock here that we're doing. So I'm gonna call up a couple names. Let's go through the first round real quick before we go hating on these 2 teams that took quarterbacks this hard and fast. I like that draft sound drop right there. So we had Jamar Chase at the 1-1. Justin Jefferson goes 2. My man Brock Bowers goes 1-3. This is tight end premium. Jahmyr Gibbs at 1-4. Bijan at 5. Neighbors at 6. There's Josh Allen. Brian Thomas. CeeDee Lamb at 8. St. Brown, CeeDee Lamb at 9, St. Brown at 10, Daniels, second quarterback in the first round at 11, and Puka at 12. So, again, one quarterback here. We got to step out of our comfort zone, back into the OG stance. I like Neighbors at 6. Was shocked that Brock Bowers went before Gibbs and Robinson, Bijan, but I'm not going to hate it at all. I'll take Brock Bowers really anywhere in the first round in a 1.5 premium. I mean, it's like he catches 150 passes a year if he's doing that.
Yep.
So, anything that stands out to you in the first round other than quarterbacks going that early?
Well, I mean, obviously, you got the quarterback thing kind of throws the math off in a 1QB league, but
Definitely.
I just the Puka love is, I understand it, but for some reason, if I'm there, it just makes me a little, I don't know why it is. This is just me. I think I would rather go like a Drake London there.
All right. Drake London did close the season out real hot when Penix came in.
I am also an unabashed Captain Durag lover. So that probably has something to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, if you and Casey's worlds would have collided last year pre-NFL draft and then been around together to hang out for that 1-8 or 1-9, whatever pick it was for the Falcons, when they took Penix, and the entire world said that was a terrible idea. You know what I haven't heard much this time of the year, Chev, is how bad of a problem it is that Penix is on the Falcons roster, my man. Anyway, Let me not get too off point. I agree that Puka is not my favorite, like, first round pick, but to me, if you told me Puka was going to play 15 games next year, I want him on my team. He is the definition of DOG. He is a dog.
Yes.
And he plays like it. He plays like he doesn't mind if he misses next week, which is great for your team this week. The question is if he's going to be banged up next week. But I'll take Puka all day long. I don't have a problem with Puka. It just, to me, feels like I wanted some, 112, it is what it is. He's always around that 2-2, 2-1, 2-2, 2-3 turn anyway, with a couple more quarterbacks in the first round.
Right.
This is the second draft we've done in a row, including last week where Brian Thomas went ahead of CeeDee Lamb. I called that about a month ago. Had a feeling of what was going to happen there. Let me pick up in 2-1 right here, Chev. I'll run through the second round and then put you on the spot again in a minute, okay?
Come on.
Trey McBride, 2-1. Love it. Nico Collins, 2-2. Drake London, 2-3. Saquon, 2-4. Genty, 2-5. Harrison, McConkey, old lad at 2-7. Just out there trying to be PPR, Wes Welker on steroids. A-Chan, JSN, getting loved, about to get all the targets. Lamar Jackson, 2-10. Sam Laporta. Oh, boy. You can't take Sam Laporta that early.
No. We're going to talk about it.
I got one more. My bad. I had one more name before we were getting into the commentary on the round. But that is He Hate Me, and he's been an OG. He's been hanging out with us for years, and I know Homeboy can put together a roster full of good players, and I'm not saying Laporta's not a good player. He is a Lion. In fact, he does play on my team. And Rashee Rice at 2-12. So I stole some thunder on the Laporta pick, but can you pick me up somewhere else in that round, Chef?
Yeah, for sure. So we talked about it. A little bit on the Patreon. I'm struggling with JSN here.
Okay.
Like, he broke out. There's less target competition in theory, but he also has a clone of himself in old man Cooper Kupp there now. So he ran the most routes from the slot of any player in the NFL last year, lined up in the slot. He has 700 snaps per player profile or whatever. So I'm thinking with him and Cooper Kupp, you have, if you believe that Cooper Kupp's not cooked, which typically when the Rams are ready to let go of a guy, they don't go on and have a ton of success. I mean, they're pretty spot on with their assessment of their homegrown talent, i.e. Todd Gurley, i.e. Kupp, right?
True.
So I'm not really sure what to do with JSN here. I mean, I personally would still have Garrett Wilson ahead of JSN, especially now we have a little bit of a clarified quarterback picture. So yeah, that's one of the ones that kind of sticks out to me. Obviously, you know, we're gonna get the Genties, and we're gonna get we're gonna get Marv in that early second round. Love to see him still going ahead of Ladd. That whole deal was getting out of control, where people are saying that they would take Ladd straight up over Marv. I don't understand that, and I don't agree with it. I don't know where you stand on that, but I don't love that. So yeah.
No, I'm gonna let me touch on JSN. Look, all right, Harrison. Harrison had pretty much identical numbers in his rookie year that his daddy had.
Yep.
His rookie year. His daddy's rookie year was eerily similar to Marvin Harrison's rookie year, which is the really only reason why that Marvin Harrison's expectations were as high as they were, is because his last name ended with Junior of a Hall of Famer, right? By almost any other metric, Marvin Harrison had a wonderful rookie season. Was it Neighbors? No. Neighbors was on a team where he was getting he was on pace for 220 something targets after the first 3 weeks of the season. Was his rookie season as fun and eye-popping as some of the plays that Brian Thomas made? No. And quite frankly, I don't have a problem with Brian Thomas going ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr. right now. But I don't think that I'm with you. I don't think he should slide far enough to be necessarily neck and neck with Ladd. And maybe it's not even a slide on Harrison as much as Ladd climbing up and people playing that PPR points. You know, you play your settings. You play to the settings of your league. So if you're in PPR league, Ladd McConkey's probably going to catch a crap load of balls, and that's going to give you a floor and a ceiling. We saw ceiling with his touchdowns and his ability to be open 20 yards downfield. Like, you know, it's one thing to be a PPR merchant and be getting all these 8-yard catches. And Wan'Dale Robinson, there ain't nothing wrong with that. That can score you that can score you PPR points too. But when Ladd's out there cooking people downfield, that's an upside play as well as the PPR safe floor. So I understand the love for Ladd, but I don't think I'm probably not pulling the trigger on a Ladd McConkey or JSN in the middle of the second round. But this is my recalibration of looking at a draft board without a bunch of quarterbacks in it to begin with. So that we're going to do this exercise together as both guys who have not done one quarterback draft in a while.
Right.
You know, we're just not there. But so the JSN thing, Seattle's coming out. They're playing two tight ends hot and heavy. They've already told you that with their decisions and the coach that they bring in. They're going to try to come out and look like the Saints looked hopefully at the first couple games of the season for the Saints offense with Clint Kubiak, not like the way they looked when their entire team got crushed. Right.
Well, so who plays the Rashid Shaheed role between him and Cooper Kupp? Because that's not really JSN's game either.
Paul's exactly. As right now, the best option on that role is Valdez Scantling on the roster. You know, right now on the roster, that's the best they got to offer in that role. I assume there'll be obviously adaptation, and they'll screw around with a little bit, tinker with it based on personnel. But still, if you got two tight ends out there, you don't have the protection is what back in the day we talked there was a lot of text message today in the group chat and there was conversation about the OG tripod and some good stuff back in the history. Let's go team, let's go. So back in the day, me and Casey used to talk about having somebody like DK Metcalf as protection for not only other wide receivers, but the running back and maybe even a tight end, protection from the defense. You got a DK Metcalf, the defense is A, backing up, and B, watching DK Metcalf type. When you got a true wide receiver one that can take the top off, that makes it easier for everybody underneath. And so right now, DK Metcalf is gone, and they haven't replaced that body type / but JSN says, hey, I could be a wide receiver one. You just got to let me do it. So interesting.
I mean, he's not a typical slot receiver, but he's also not the guy that you line up. He's more DJ Moore than he is like a T Higgins type where you can just line him up outside and just say, hey, go win one-on-ones and 50-50 balls.
Yeah, I love the second part of that. I think instead of saying he's more DJ Moore, there might be a better name we could come up with if we workshop that for 20 minutes. But but the T Higgins part of that is perfect. Like he ain't T Higgins. He's not that huge physical play the ball in the air. I'm gonna grab it with one hand. I'm gonna get it over the pile line before we all fall out of bounds as a group. Like that ain't him, but he still could be a stud. And it's just the second, 2.9. That's you hitching your wagons to somebody at 2.9.
I mean, like I said, I still have Garrett. I still have Garrett ahead of him. Me and Casey were working through the tiers, and I still have Garrett ahead of him. That's kind of where my pick would be if I could get either him or Rashee Rice, to be honest with you. And I could kind of move JSN to the back end, like early third, like flip flop those guys. 2-12, 3-1. I would do that. I would do that all day long.
Okay, before I go on the third round here and get away from JSN, here's how I play stuff like this, Chef. There's a potential opportunity, and it may, there may be a blow-up play in the preseason that gets everybody's head exploded or zeroes them in. But if there's shaken confidence of JSN people, and it only take, there's only one team in your league with JSN unless you play in one of those crazy duplicate leagues, and it only takes one person, if he's that guy, to falter in some confidence. Obviously, right here, this guy goes 2.9, so RGO11, he's not lack of confidence on JSN. But let's say in weeks 1 and 2 and 3, the Seattle Seahawks are still working through their new system, and JSN's averaging 11.5 PPR points per game right this second. There's a decent buy window right there.
Absolutely.
You just got to be on the lookout. You got to be on the lookout. And see, that's like not a lot of people have the cojones to say this might be a buy window. That might be I told you so, or that's why I stayed away from him, or thank God I traded him away. All those different perspectives. If you watch the games, you might be able to see unrealized air yards or this type of trend that the offense is trying to get working. Like, 8 years ago was Robert Woods, his first year on the Rams. Week 1, week 2, he was donuts. He was giving you hardly anything, but I was watching the games and it was touching off the tip of his fingers in the end zone on a 40-yard touchdown pass. And I was telling everybody, I was like, yo, it was Robert Woods about to do something on the Rams. And then it was maybe week 4 and he started blowing up. And then for the next 2 years, he was a viable contributor, start and wide receiver for your team for a few years. And he was basically free.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's go round 3. We got Garrett Wilson, Jonathan Taylor, Breece Hall, Burrow. So our fourth quarterback, because we had Lamar Jackson in the second round, Burrow, A.J. Brown, Hampton, rookie running back in the third round, Bucky Irving, Odunze, Kyron Williams, T. Higgins shows up in the third round, Tet, rookie wide receiver, and Devonta Smith, 312. How you feeling? Anybody, nobody jump at you? Just a nice even round, or anybody you want to hit on?
No, okay. So first things first, let's get the elephant in the room here. We just did a sales episode where we got Bucky Irving, Bucky Irving in the third round. I think that what he did was outstanding. This might be my high exit point. We're gonna sell high on Bucky Irving. And I think that right there, that ADP right there, with what potentially could happen in the draft, just makes me a little bit nervous. Obviously, they still have Rachaad White for one more year. I mean, he's awesome. I mean, like I said on the Cell Show, he had 1,500 yards on 50% of the snaps. Like him and Alvin Kamara were the only two guys to do that since Alvin Kamara has been in the league, I believe. You guys, hey, comment warriors, fact check me on this one. I'll be waiting. I think that this is a good exit point, and I think that we're talking about a guy who was a third round rookie pick. This could be a whole Amon-Ra St. Brown type arc where I'm saying get out, and I'm completely wrong a year and a half, a year from now. But I would love to get out here.
Okay. I mean, Bucky Irvin. We're not gonna pretend like he didn't look like a little Shady McCoy out there this season, but this is a fantastic stepping stone, because raise your hand if you took him before the third round in your rookie draft. You didn't. Put your hand down. So you can stepping stone a third round or a fourth round rookie pick to now he's in the third round of a startup. Obviously, one quarterback here. So instead, if this was super flex, there would be more quarterbacks. So we'd be talking about Bucky in the fourth round, but you can stepping stone Bucky to potentially a safer player, because that's really what you're talking about there. Is it's not that Bucky's not nice, it's not that he didn't look ridiculously good, You're just talking about stepping stone off of somebody to save your asset, came up to here. And so now that difference on price paid and what it's worth, that's called equity. So if you can move over here and protect your equity a little bit is what you're talking about doing. I don't hate it. The thing is what I'm going to move to, and that might be something that we have to put together a show on.
Absolutely.
We'd have to spitball on what we're trying to get for Bucky Irvin, to be honest with you, because he was looking a little Shady McCoy-ish. And
there's a ton of talent there. Don't hear what I'm not saying, guys.
Yep.
There's a ridiculous amount of talent there.
I like that.
No
don't wait. Don't hear what I'm not saying. I really, really like that. That's a good one. I'm gonna have to put that one in my tool belt. So, anyways, we're gonna keep it moving. Go to the fourth round. Bucky Irvin's nice, and as somebody who you got so cheap, it is hard to trade him away, Chev. But at the same time, it's hard to click the button and give up that asset, which would be 3-7 in this instance. In this exercise, the guy he had a 3-7 and he put his name into Bucky Irvin. He jumped in the car with Bucky Irvin. He riding shotgun with Bucky Irvin right now. So, like I said, there's a huge, dramatic increase in value that we just saw off of Bucky. And where does it go year 2? Must see TV for the Bucks. I was so right on Baker Mayfield not being a dynasty asset for 5 years, and then he goes and turns his life around and crushes it. Good for him. And now it's making me a Bucks fan. All right.
It's hard not to root for Baker at this point. This is from I was a devout Baker hater, brother.
It's hard not to it's impossible. You can't not respect it. I was about to say it's hard not to respect it. It's impossible not to respect it. It's hard to not enjoy it. Yeah. All right. Xavier Worthy 4-1, Josh Jacobs 4-2. Seems here. Chev, I'm not going to get off on a tangent, but Josh Jacobs 4-2 in a startup. Travion Henderson 4-5 in a startup. Travion Henderson's rookie draft value, where he will be selected in a rookie draft, is going to be more valuable than a Josh Jacobs share in any league, anytime, any day. But that's what happens in startups. If that's your guy, if you're in a real startup today and at 4-2, you're looking at Josh Jacobs and Travion Henderson still on the board, maybe even a Judkins still, those types of players, those types of assets, just trade back. Okay. Josh Jacobs, 4-2, DJ Moore, Tyler Warren, Travion Henderson, Walker, 3 sticks. Big things coming from the running game for Seattle this year. If you can't get Walker at a good enough value, get to back up. But I like pairing them both up this year going into Seattle. James Cook, Chris Olave, Zay Flowers, Scary Terry McLaurin, Christian McCaffrey at 4-11, Jalen Hurts at 4-12. That's it right there, Chev. The difference right here, Jalen Hurts at 4-12 versus Josh Allen at 1-7. Give me the 4-12 Jalen Hurts versus the Josh Allen at 1-7 all day long. There's your difference in opportunity cost of what you were saying. In the first round, you could have a Brian Thomas. You could have Brian Thomas and Jalen Hurts, or Josh Allen and Terry McLaurin, Chris Olave type, right? Not even close. Not even close.
I mean, look at this. Just Burrow goes a whole round earlier.
Round and a half.
Round and a half earlier. So, it's predicated on Burrow throwing for another 5,043 touchdowns. He threw the ball 652 times last year. Jalen Hurts threw it 361 times. That tush push, it's not going to get banned, okay? That insulated rushing floor of double-digit touchdowns for 4 straight years just gives him a fantasy floor that if the passing volume goes anywhere, if it goes up in any way, shape, or form, and he has positive touchdown regression from a touchdowns thrown standpoint, he's smashing this ADP. He's smashing Burrow at that ADP. I absolutely love. I couldn't wait to get to this pick right here and talk about it. And then real quick, I love your point about Travion Henderson. The moment he gets his name called, he has much more dynasty value than Josh Jacobs has, even if Josh Jacobs is a top 5 running back in 2025.
Oh, yeah.
From a points per game or overall aggregate finish standpoint, the moment Travion Henderson gets crystallized draft capital, he's worth way more to any team than Josh Jacobs. So I love that point.
Yeah, agreed. All right, cool. I do think that the Bengals are going to be probably the biggest point spread over type team this year. Them and the Lions. The Bengals don't have any money to spend on defense, so I do. If Burrow's healthy, he's got the weapons. He can even have one weapon go down because they brought back Gesicki. So if Higgins go down, Gesicki steps right in there. And he's got Chase Brown to dump the ball down to. I think Burrow is going to score a ton of fantasy points again. But like you said, the rushing floor of Jalen Hurts, we have seen hardly any passing ceiling. Only in the big games when he really needs it does he break it out. And me and Casey talked about that last week, that maybe now with the they got a Super Bowl championship ring on their finger, and maybe he can take an exhale from all the weight and load of doubters that he's been carrying around with that man since he got benched at Alabama for Tua. So he's been having to prove it for 8 years now, and he's proved it every chance he got a chance. So I'm saying Hurts is about to crush it too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Chase Brown 5-1, Justin Herbert, Egbuka, another rookie wide receiver, Chuba, Judkins, Addison, Luther Burden, another rookie wide receiver, Hawkinson, Mahomes at 5'8", that's 5'9", Mahomes at 5'9". Pretty much zero rushing upside at this point, but the stability and consistency of, when I say consistency, obviously people are like, oh, well, he hasn't been consistently great for fantasy lately. But when it comes to putting your claim down on a quarterback that may or may not be in the league in 3 to 5 years, you could say, I know Patrick Mahomes, as long as he's not hurt or tired of being awesome, he's going to be in the league for 5 to 8 more years. So it's not like you're taking a quarterback that is going to have, you're not going to have the ebbs and flows of, is he really my starting quarterback next year? And did I make a mistake? So,
well, I mean, we're just a couple years, we're not even a couple years. We're one offseason removed from everybody assuming that he's going back to the Legion of Zoom. And he was a top 5 quarterback pick in Superflex. So getting him here in the 5th round is tremendous value, because his ceiling is 5,040.
I don't know if he gets back to that, but you're right. 12 months ago, especially when they brought in Hollywood Brown and they had Rasheed Rice and they drafted Xavier Worthy. So now it was the need for speed, and Mahomes, that was what they were saying. We're going to go back to 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns. Here it comes. No, it didn't happen. And he probably never gets back to those numbers. But what I'm saying here is the safety in that pick. That's the opposite of blowing it. Like I can make a good argument next round for Bo Nix's upside over Patrick Mahomes, and I can make a great argument for Drake May and his rushing ability in 2 rounds from now, because the board's up here on the screen. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening to the podcast, we'll get to that in just a second. I can make cases for all that, but Patrick Mahomes, maybe second and third in line at GOAT minimum, right? To me, he's not the GOAT. Some people, if he would have won that 3-peat, it would have been the worst conversations, because we had to, But anyway,
you gotta give it at least 1A, 1B at that point.
Right. I'm glad we didn't have to get into 1A, 1B. I'm glad we didn't have to split that up. Let me finish this 5th round. Jalen Waddle, Pickens, Jameson Williams. We don't have to hit anybody else in this round if you don't want to, because we hit Mahomes for a minute. Is anybody standing out to you?
I'm gonna get real negative real quick here.
Let's go.
I absolutely despise the Jalen Waddle pick here. I don't enjoy that. I don't enjoy that at all. I mean, from a value perspective, it's absolutely fine. It is perfectly fine. I love Alex, you clicked on my guy here, and how much. So let's skip. I'm a Jalen Waddle denier, but I'm a Quinshon Judkins believer wholeheartedly. Yep. I think that he's going to do some special stuff. I comped him to early on. I comped him to David Montgomery, but this RAS score is almost identical to Nick Chubb's. You can go find that. I mean, his was like 9.82. The measurables are almost identical. Chubb was 6 foot or 5'11", 227. So I absolutely think that's a value, especially being able to get him almost 2 rounds later, or a round and a half later than you got Travion Henderson. So I love that pick in the 5th round. I mean, everything else is just kind of meh. I don't love the receivers in this range at all.
Okay, that's a fun couple names you threw out with Judkins, right? You got David Montgomery and a Nick Chubb. So David Montgomery, through all his haters for first couple years, has proven out to be a really, really good NFL running back. And there's for all of the you can find a running back anytime, anywhere. There's not that many really good NFL running backs. There's a bunch of decent ones. There's a whole bunch of decent ones, but David Montgomery's really good. Nick Chubb, on the other hand, is a whole nother level. Nick Chubb is an elite NFL running back. And if Judkin gets anywhere near Nick Chubb as an NFL running back, that is stealing in the 5th round of a startup. I like it. All right, I'll skip the Jalen Waddle conversation for now so we can catch up on this draft. Jameson Williams comes out today, sleeper news that he probably gets the 5th round option from the Lions. Why not? He brings it. He is protection for that entire offense and keep making everybody on the defense be like, what is this guy going to run a crosser right now, or is he going to take me deep? What's he doing? And if they keep working that man into if he keeps working and they keep working with him and he develops any more to his game, he is absolutely lethal. Dalton Kincaid, 6'1". Go ahead.
Yeah, that's I mean, just think about what he did this year. I believe it was 90 targets, 58 catches, 1,000 yards. Like, and it's his first full-time action.
Right.
This is basically like the Will Fuller thing, but with a better player.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, I had a handful of Will Fullers that really let me down.
But go ahead. Go ahead.
No, me and Will Fuller, we were about to be boys because I bought low. I bought low on the little dip there, and he came back at that first 5 or 6 games of that year where he was basically wide receiver 1, and then he got hurt and never came back and got popped for PEDs, and then whatever. It bygones be bygones, Chev. But yeah, Jameson Williams is a stud. All right, Dalton Kincaid, 6'1", second tight end for that guy. Derrick Henry, DK Metcalf on the same team that took the guy that you don't like for his value as Waddle, but that gives him 6 straight receivers. I'm going to stop here and read that because St. Brown, Drake London, T. Higgins, DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle, DK Metcalf. My man's got his starting wide receivers and his flexes laid out already. I enjoy that. Maybe not exactly what I would have done, but when you see a guy just go ahead and commit and say, hey, wide receiver ain't going to be a problem. When it's a 1 quarterback league, like you said, that's how you recalibrate and figure out how I'm gonna build my team a little bit different. You don't have to worry about 2 quarterbacks. You don't have to worry about any of that. And he's going to come in and we'll see how he builds his team out. We got DK Metcalf at 6'3", Tyreek Hill 6'4", Bo Nix, George Kittle, Godwin, Ayuk, Shakir. That feels high. That feels early.
Yeah.
Rick Pearsall, Montgomery, Travis Hunter. I'm going to go next round as well. And then when I get to the end of the next round, I get you to double down.
Come on.
All right, Travis Hunter, Caleb Johnson, Jaden Reed, Trey Harris, a couple rookies right there surrounding Jaden Reed. Tyrone Tracy, Jerry Jeudy, Drake May, Josh Downs, James Conner, Joe Mixon, Kamara. So 3 straight old running backs in a row. Colston Loveland. Might as well throw a brand new rookie tight end beside 3 old running backs. And Baker Mayfield. So that's through the 7th round. We got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 quarterbacks through 7 rounds. So I don't see any team with 2. So we got 2 teams with no quarterbacks yet. How you feeling on anybody in the 7th or the 6th or the 7th round to love or hate?
Well, you touched on Khalil Shakir right there. That feels a little bit early from a. I mean that slot role has tremendous value. That slot role has tremendous value with Josh Allen. It always has. It always will. They just locked him up. They gave him the bread. So maybe this dude's living in 30-25 and he knows that Khalil Shakir wide receiver 1 season is on the way. And then but I think that a guy like Jaden Reed might be more valuable from a portfolio perspective still. Taking that guy 4 or 5 picks later might be more valuable from a portfolio perspective in what you can get if you were trying to move off of those 2 guys. If we're talking trades, I think Jaden Reed, even though we know that the Packers refuse to feature him in any way, shape, or form, would still represent a little bit more value than Khalil Shakir would. So that
And
kind
Ricky,
of sticks out to me. And there's a couple other things, but I'll let you.
yeah, let me jump in here on that one since we did talk about sheer, like Ricky Pearsall as well. That exact same argument, copy and paste Ricky Pearsall over Jaden Reed. So let me talk about the way I talk about dynasty startups. So I have no problem, like if we compare and contrast Shakir's value to Jaden Reed's value, like to me, week 1 next year, I'd rather have Shakir in my lineup than Jaden Reed.
Yes.
If the Packers can figure out how to get the guy who looks like the most explosive and fun guy on the field, when every time he touches the ball, he looks like he's the most explosive and fun guy on the field. If they can figure out how to get him the ball more often, wheels up. Now, that being said, Shakir, I'm gonna put him in my lineup week 1 over Jaden Reed, probably 10 times out of 10 right now. Just because, like you said, he in that offense, he was Josh Allen's go-to in many points of the season last year when it wasn't either Allen running the ball himself or handing it to James Cook or throwing some wild wheel route to Ty Johnson way down the field.
Right.
So Shakir, he is a guy that you draft and you're getting points from him. There is value in that, and he can definitely raise his value this coming season if he adds on to what he did last year. No doubt about it. But I think at 6'9", with other players on the board who have more name equity, more asset value right this minute, I think if that was your pick, because Shakir was your pick, you trade back and you trade back 6 spots and you pick up maybe you do a 2-3 swap. Maybe you get a 2nd round pick and you give up your 3rd round pick next year in your rookie drafts and improve something to back up if you really want to take Shakir there, because I don't think many people are taking, especially after the NFL draft and Trey Harris, somebody like that is plastered on mainstream TV, because right now we all know about Trey Harris, but the casual football fans don't know as much about Trey Harris as you're going to hear when his name is called in the 2nd round. Of weeks.
That's a great point. And I mean, we have to we're in an echo chamber now. Everybody that's involved in this stream is a year-round player. But you got some guys that are just
100%.
Just tuning out until the NFL, like they'll tap in for the NFL draft. They're not going to know half the rookies are in the rookie draft. So you might be able to pull a fast one on someone. I do think we're going to get to that next round, but a lot of the values here, I'm borderline out on Tyrone Tracy just because I think that they're going to add some competition there. And that's not the way to play the game. But from a hey, let's maximize the juice on the squeeze. I won't say portfolio again, Jason, but let's maximize the juice on the squeeze there, bud. And let's get out of the Tyrone Tracy business. One, it's rare to see team like running backs on bad offenses give you top 12 performances on a season long basis. So, and then there's a guy I'm staring at right there in the 8th round that if I could take that guy instead of Tyrone Tracy right there, I would absolutely do it.
Call him out.
Oh, Travis Etienne.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. All right. So I love what you said about people who are involved in this stream right now. Cause there's 2 of us and however many people are watching right this second. If you're watching a Dynasty mock live stream in the end of March, you are into Dynasty Fantasy Football. And so that's why. So some of the things we talk about, Chev, I will take it extremely high level for my guys that are watching us right now, the people that are going to catch us on a podcast, the people that are going to watch this later on YouTube. I will take something extremely high level, but also remember that not everybody that's going to end up hearing this is got as many laps around this thing as I do and you do. And so I will try to take some stuff elementary too, and I'm gonna say stuff from time to time that should be more than obvious to everybody, but just in case we got those newcomers that are trying to go fast track and be like, you know what, I know me and my boys just started Dynasty last year and that was kind of fun. I'm gonna do some studying and I'm gonna come out and whoop ass next year. We might have some 2nd year, 3rd year guys in here trying to work their way up to be a black belt. And I'm gonna try to help all levels while we're in here.
I
So
love that.
if you're in this spot right here and you're talking about the values in this round, Casey and I usually do some pretty serious videos every year about startups and trades, and for a long time they were always on it, the Patreon side of things, because I want to give all that information out for free. But basically we'll find little spots in the draft and we'll be like, hey, go up from here or down from here, and we'll stay out of this round and we'll try to stay out of this round on average. Of course there's in every draft somebody might slip down too far and this or that. There's always values in every draft. We're going to look and find those ranges that we want to trade in and out of pre-draft when possible. All right, let's go in the 8th round here. 8-1, ETN, Pacheco, Mark Andrews, Tucker Kraft, Pittman, Matthew Golden, rookie wide receiver, Devin Neal, rookie running back, Njoku, Jonnu Smith, coming on up the list here, Mike Evans, 8-10, Ferguson, man, he really let me down last year, and I'd like to see Ferguson, the Dallas tight end, come in and be healthy with Dak and catch a lot of balls next year. Cortland Sutton at 8-12, Charbonnet at 9-1, Harris, Najee at 9-2, Jalen McMillan, Shaheed, Devontae Adams, Scatterbo, Tony Pollard, Scatterbo, rookie running back, Keon Coleman, Ramondre Stevenson, Noel, depending on how you want to say it, Trey Benson, Brian Robinson. You got 2 rounds of names right there, Chev. How you feeling?
Well, as much as I love Travis Etienne at 8-1, I despise Isaiah Pacheco at 8-2. Mm-hmm. That's just not. I wouldn't want. It's not the way that I would play the game. I mean, we could bet on a bounce back. I mean, we're talking about a 7th round pick who they re-signed Kareem Hunt. You could view that as backfield depth, but Kareem Hunt, after Isaiah Pacheco's injury, was just the more efficient runner of the two, and he was at probably 3.7 yards a carry. I mean, Isaiah Pacheco was a shell of himself, and hopefully he bounces back, but this is a contract year, so we're looking at a team that's got to pay the Super Bowl tax to keep this stuff, keep their defense intact, and then they need offensive tackles, offensive linemen, period. So I don't think he's going to be a priority re-sign for them, and that makes me just completely out on his situation as a whole.
Okay, here's how we're going to play the Pacheco stuff this year, especially since it's not April 1st yet. By the time most people see or hear this, it will be April 1st or later. After the NFL draft, we'll know a lot more about Pacheco's dynasty value. Right now, you're probably not in real startups. If you're doing real startups right now, you cannot invest in a Pacheco, and we'll come up with other running back names for you right now. They're all over the place, and most people are like, if it's not these 5 or 6 running backs, they're all on watch, and that's true. Everybody's on watch, and I've said it before. There's probably almost every single team in the NFL is going to draft a running back whose names we will know by the time the NFL draft gets here. There's a lot of good running backs out there, and there's going to be a lot of good running backs drafted to these teams. So after the NFL draft, we'll have a lot more information and whether or not Pacheco was a deal here at 8-2 or you really got left in the mud because they drafted Judkins, right? The last thing, if you were making moves right now, you're not buying a Pacheco-ish type player right this minute, because the Chiefs have the ability and the freedom to do and make moves in that running back department. Opposite of a Chase Brown situation for Cincinnati Bengals, but I will not digress and get down that tangent right now. the Pachecos of the world, the Chiefs have the freedom to draft a higher, more high-end caliber type running back replacement for Pacheco. However, they don't have to. They probably will draft a running back. Let's get real. But if it's not one of those really, really top-end guys, Pacheco could easily come out there and score some really good. Like you said, he was a shell of himself. Let's call it for what that was. Coming off an injury, coming back, trying to help the team and down the stretch in the Super Bowl, trying to get into playoffs, do their thing, all that stuff. Maybe he was not even 80%. We don't know. Maybe he comes out next year, week 1, and he crushes it, and he's really worth way more than you buy. Maybe, just maybe, he's a nice dynasty sell in week 2 next year.
Yeah.
Time will tell.
The point is, I think we're both alluding to, is you can't buy him right now and you can't sell him right now.
Right. If he's part of a package deal and you can get some decent value on his name and it really helps you be in a step up, that's okay. I understand that. If if you throw him in your Bucky Irvin package and you're trying to do a step up trade, I get it. But he shouldn't be a throw in who's worthless. But for everything I just said and what you were really, he may not have absolutely stiff competition in the running back room next year. He's going to have competition, but it might not be like a third round pick or better type caliber player. All right, let me run over here. Let me say that I really, really like the value on Keon Coleman right now. And then if you ain't got if you got somebody else in these next 2 rounds, we'll call out some more names. If you got somebody here you wanna talk about for a second, feel free.
Yeah, I love like you said, I love the value on Keon Coleman. I'm a big Jalen Noel guy, and I'm also realizing that I like Trey Benson a lot more than I thought I did.
Good.
There's an article I got coming out tomorrow on Player Profiler where I talk about potential dynasty stashes / buy lows, and Trey Benson is my buy low. I mean, that's to me, that's the perfect 0 RB candidate for best ball in 2025. That it just screams, everything about the situation screams like, hey, how did we not see this coming? I mean, he was efficient. He didn't get the work in year 1. James Conner's coming off career highs in touches, yards, games played. Math would tell us that's probably going to regress, especially going into his age 30 season. So I love the value on Trey Benson right now. Trey Benson and Jalen Noel. I've been banging the drum pretty hard for both the Iowa State receivers. I like Jaden Higgins a little bit better because that's more my favorite archetype of wide receiver. But Jalen Noel he's going to be typecast as a slot receiver, but he can separate. And I think that he's going to be a value in rookie drafts. Like he was in our 4th round ADP wise for March. So
all that's about to get shook up after the draft for sure. Trey Benson, especially if you're talking redraft best ball, he's even lower in this, which makes him even more of a buy, because in Dynasty, him being a young running back, he gets pushed up here in the 9th round. I imagine he's farther down the list in a best ball format, and in a redraft best ball competition this year. But I do like Trey Benson, and math would suggest the odds are, is another way to say that James Conner doesn't play 16, 17 healthy games this year. He could, and he might, and I hope he does, because I'm a James Conner fan.
Hey, no shade on James Conner whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. None taken, and I didn't think you were going there. But the thing about it is, Trey Benson is a great value, because this time last year he was 4 or 5 rounds ahead of this, because we were assuming all these things we just talked about Conner, but a year ago, and all he did was come out and be awesome, and they extended him and they gave him some more money. So I think that, again, this is, unless James Conner gets hurt in the offseason, Trey Benson is going to be a really, really good bye week. I mean, buy now kind of guy after week 1 and week 2, when James Conner's still out there looking healthy and fresh.
Oh yeah. A lot, and they can get out of James Conner's contract for a $2 million dead cap hit after 2025. So that's another reason why in Dynasty I'm looking to acquire Trey Benson.
I like it. All right, we're going to pick up at 10-1 with Kyle Pitts, Tajay Spears, Aaron Jones, DeAndre Swift, Deebo Samuel, Evan Ingram. Is that Dylan Sampson right there with a D? Yeah, that's Dylan Sampson, rookie running back. Jacoby Myers, Juwan Jennings, J.K. Dobbins, free agent, Cooper Kupp, Caleb Williams goes to the Jalen Hurts team. That's his 2nd quarterback. Turnaround for Isaiah Likely, 11-1. Quentin Johnston, Restrepo, Kyler, rookie wide receiver Restrepo, who just ran a really late 40, and all of a sudden he forgot how to play football. Oh, man, dude, I cannot wait for him to get cheaper. Kyler Murray, Jalen Warren, Cole Kmet, Tank Bigsby, C.J. Stroud, Freiermuth, Jordan Mason. Hey, Aaron Jones on the way by and Jordan Mason on the way back. I like that. I wouldn't have taken Aaron Jones. I would have just got Jordan Mason a little later, because we don't know how far down Jordan Mason would make it, but the Aaron Jones guy just got him. Be interesting if Casey was here, he would know Jordan Mason's ADP off the top of his head. We got Ollie Gordon at 11-11, rookie running back, and then we got Javonte Williams at 11-12. So we just knocked out 2 more rounds. Anybody we need to stop and talk about?
Oh, we already talked about Tyjae Spears on the buy low. I don't understand. Maybe I don't know how to properly value DeAndre Swift. I mean, every conventional wisdom tells you that they're going to the Bears organization, even though they gave him that deal, every single mock draft has them spending some sort of a day 2 capital on a running back.
Yeah.
And that makes me nervous. I mean,
And-
you have Ben
and most-
Johnson who's deployed that 2-back system in Detroit. Yep. So if they get a Caleb Johnson, if they take a Quinshawn Judkins at 41, 39 or 41, they've got 2 second-round picks.
Exactly.
Right. So
that's if they don't take Genty in the first.
Yeah, and that's if, and that just smashes his value. That completely smashes DeAndre Swift's value. So, those are the guys kind of stood out to me. Obviously, J.K. Dobbins doesn't have a team yet, but we think that he's going to be playing American tackle football in the year of 2025.
Yep.
And then Evan Ingram, that's a value. That's a really good value, especially with that Joker role potentially crystallizing itself with him in Denver.
Yep, talked about that last week with Casey for sure. All right, so I don't think I got anybody that we got to stop and talk about there. Outside, we got Kyler Murray and CJ Stroud in the 11th round, and as quarterbacks, it's just so weird to see these types of players this far down the draft. But that's exactly why we talk about the value of a late quarterback in a 1-quarterback league, and you have to mesh that with what you're giving up, the opportunity cost if you take a good difference-making quarterback in the top of the draft. Can you find a difference-making quarterback at the end of the draft? Absolutely. If we did this run, 1-quarterback league last year, it would have been, everybody knew that Jaden Daniels was going to be an instant quality player, so to speak. Myself, I was on the fence of just him being a rookie quarterback and not wanting to put the capital and spending a second-round startup pick on a rookie quarterback, because we've been hurt by those types of picks so many times recently or in the long distance past. And that's because it's less than a 50% hit rate for the NFL teams, much less fantasy football. But when you get down here in the 10th, 11th, 12th round of a 1-quarterback, and you're seeing these, a Love and CJ Stroud and Cam Ward and Kyler Murray and Brock Purdy and my man Anthony Richardson sitting right here just ready to ball out with fantasy points if he can complete some passes. So there's difference makers at the top, but like the guys that took quarterbacks too early. I'm back to I like the Jalen Hurts late 4th round, and the Patty Mahomes in the 5th. And even if you're not a Patty Mahomes guy, that's fine. If you're not, if that's but Bo Nix, Drake
it's
May,
about the ceiling there.
I got
it. The ceiling is QB1.
I didn't mean to open up a can of worms again.
No,
this is our first one. This is why we're doing the exercise, because we haven't done it in forever. This is good. All right, so we ended up with Javonte Williams. Let's go 12-1, Anthony Richardson. Love the upside. We saw all of the downside last year. So if it can be slight to medium improvement from Anthony Richardson, it could really take off. I mean, it can't be worse. It can't be worse. And as bad and as ugly as it was, he came in at the end of the season. We had the first couple games. The first game was awesome. Remember that when he threw that the ball off his back foot, 78 yards in the air, is the longest throw ever in history of NFL. Nobody's ever thrown one farther, and it was never anything more beautiful than that. Well, the next 3 games were car wrecks.
Right.
So, he had a 27-point game week 1 of last year, which is probably top 3 in the quarterbacks, right? That's exactly, would 2 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown, ran for 56 yards. Like that's what you signed up for with Anthony Richardson. That's why I've been beating the drum for him for 2 years. The next 3 games, 12 points, 7 points, 5 points. He got benched for a couple weeks. Came out after the benching, not great. Or was he hurt in week 5 and 6, or did he didn't get benched that early? He was either the injury or the benching back and forth, because he missed 2 weeks.
He got hurt against the Steelers, and that was when Flacco came in, and then he comes back and he tapped out against the Texans, and that was when I believe the second game against the Texans.
Yep.
wanna
And
say.
then there's a 2-week gap where he was benched. But when he comes back in, let's just start there. After the benching, after the get your mind right for 2 weeks, after the go home, wash your face, look in the mirror, call me when you're feeling good. Just go take a lap, drink some coffee. 28 points the next week. Yeah, that was against the Jets, and they were basically, I could have put up 28 points against the Jets by the time it was week 11 last year because they all cashed out and said, I'm out of here and let's not get hurt. Let's try. We all playing for next year's contract. All right. 12 points, 13 points against the Lions because they were still stingy defense at that point. Not every single Lions starter on defense was hurt by week 12, so they were still good. At the Patriots, 23 points. That did include like the last minute fourth quarter comeback, which was probably his best like actual look as a, you put 2 or 3 drives together to win the game. That was like his best football look, not fantasy point score and look, but like that was his best look as an NFL quarterback coming back against the Patriots. Bye week, 15 points, 21 and a quarter, and shut down in the last couple of weeks. But that 5 out of the last 6 weeks, 5 out of the last 7 weeks, remove the bye week there, 28, 13, 23, 15, 21. Is that anything to write home about? No, but that's QB2 all day long. And that's barely completing any passes, Chev. That's barely completing any passes. But you know what it was? It was 3, 4, 5 rushing touchdowns in 5 games is what that was.
It's steady.
That was the Colts saying, we got to take this bubble wrap off because that running is part of his game. And if the defense don't have to respect the run, we know they ain't even really got to worry about him completing passes right this minute. If we could have an off season of growth out of Anthony Richardson, I know it's called average price per share. And if you've been riding with me, I've really saved you a lot of value over the years. So you're going to have to give me a little grace in the Anthony Richardson purchase department right now because we were buying in high and then we bought in a little bit lower and then we bought in a little bit lower and Chev, we down here in the dumps, bro. But we got to pick up another couple shares down here. So when it all comes back up, we can all party together. I'm taking Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, you got your waders on. You're deep in it now.
Oh, I'm so knee deep, Chev. I can't even go any deeper with Anthony Richardson, but I am because I'm a seasoned investor and I know how the market works. And right now, if I blow a 12th round pick startup on Anthony Richardson, if I blow that pick, I'm okay, Chev. I'll be okay. And I'm going to take Daniel Jones in the 20th round. So I still got a starting quarterback. And Daniel Jones ain't nothing to write home about, but I like the similarities of what could happen for the offense. They don't have an Anthony Richardson and a Joe Flacco. When Anthony Richardson's in or out and Flacco's in or out, it doesn't have to be polar opposite offenses, that we can get deer in the headlights quarterback in there, and he can't be worse than what Anthony Richardson was last year, which will take me to one of my top dynasty buys of the offseason. I'm going to tease that for a little bit later. Let's catch up on some names. You ready?
Go ahead.
Xavier Liggett, 12-2. Brashad Smith, 12-3.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. I knew you'd like that. Jordan Love, Royals, rookie wide receiver. Darnell Mooney. Cedric Tillman, 12-7. Casey's going to say like that all day. I don't know how you don't. Cam Ward, Travis Kelce, Brock Purdy, Cade Otton, Jalen Coker. Make the turn. Rashad White, Steph Diggs makes a comeback appearance. Ray Davis, Calvin Ridley, Marvin Mims, Christian Kirk. I like that. That's the same guy. Cedric Tillman, Christian Kirk on back-to-back picks. That's a solid pick run right there, Dan. And he gets Dak Prescott next, which is huge. Alec Aramaner, rookie wide receiver. DJ Giddens. The other ETN. I haven't seen Trevor Etienne pop up in one of these yet. Good for you.
That's tough.
Higgins, Isaiah Bond, Brooks, Jonathan Brooks. This is likely to not play all year long. That's a decent grab and IR spot guy there. Not sure if I can even take him over some of the guys left on the board. So we got 2 more rounds in. I did stop and say hey to Cedric Tillman. I enjoyed the Cedric Tillman, Christian Kirk back-to-back picks for that guy, for Dan. adding to his wide receiver depth after he took 5 rounds off between picking wide receivers. What you looking like over there? You got somebody you want to love or hate?
I absolutely. I mean, we don't have to stand on ceremony about Brashard Smith. Everybody knows where I stand with that. Jalen Royals, another one. I mean, yeah, Jalen Royals is another one. We talked about Cedric Tillman, and then Travis Kelce here is extremely intriguing to me because that's I mean, in a win now, if you're going win now build, which I think that's what I
Close
mean, this
enough.
guy's on auto, but
Close enough.
yeah, that's what I mean. This looks like it would be a win now build, and that's a win now tight end. That's your second tight end. So it gives you a little flexibility if you wanted to move off of Travis Kelce to a contender for a late second round pick in the middle of, early in the season, week 6, week 7, you could do that. And that's kind of what he is at this point. But he's going to represent, a top 5. I mean, he got 130 targets last year, and this was the most. He averaged 8 yards a catch, but that type of volume, 130 targets at the tight end position, and being in the 11th round, I think that's a great value.
Yeah, I mean, I've been riding with Travis Kelce for. I mean, if you've been playing fantasy, everybody's been riding with Travis Kelce for a long time. I got on him fairly early, and he was one of my guys for a long. He helped me out a lot. I think right this second, I don't know if I can take Travis Kelce there, because I don't know. It may be a going away party. Pat may be like, you know what? If you can go out there and you can wear cleats and your knees want to work, I'm gonna throw you the ball. I'm gonna throw you the ball, Kelce, because Pat's got no pressure, right? He's only halfway through his career, and he's supposedly the second best quarterback of all time. So he's got no pressure. He could throw it to Kelce if he wants to. I don't know how much dynasty trade value is left in Kelce, but you will be able to trade him to a win now team. If he pulls a Zacher, all you need is him to pull it. He did get a lot of targets last year. It just didn't amount to much.
Yeah, it was 8.5 yards to catch. It was real bad.
Yeah.
It was the least efficient he's been, which, I mean, tracks with him being 35 years old. But, you can probably name cachet. Plus, we're going to get, once football starts happening, his value is going to go up, in my opinion, because they're still going to feature him.
Yeah. Well, he had flashes last year. There were times where he showed up and he got all the love. And then there were times where he was like, yo, I just caught a couple passes, and I caught 10 catches last game and 14 catches. So, like, there were times when he was the offense. And that was probably, they were like, Rashee Rice got hurt after a couple weeks, and they were trying to figure out how to use the rookie Worthy, and he's flying around all over the place. Maybe the defenses are like, yo, let's just follow Worthy because Travis Kelce's a shell of himself. Well, still getting 10 for 90 and 14 for 100 is pretty dang good, especially if you're playing in one. That's good for standard, but that's really good for PPR and even better for tight end premium. But he is 35 and climbing currently. His clock is ticking like all of ours. And I'm not sure how much trade value you got, but if you want to take that stab for a win now team and you've just, you just become win now through the draft, it is what it is. I get it.
I mean, he's got Jonnu, so you got a little bit of protection from a
wiggle room.
Yeah, and then Jalen Coker, obviously, and at the end of that, on the turn right there. I'm a big Jalen Coker guy. I think that he's the best receiver on that team, and so I think he's the best receiver on the team, bar none. I mean, Adam Thielen obviously has the contract, and he's in the last year of his contract. And, he showed out at the end of the year. I mean, that quad injury kind of derailed things. He had 110 yards against Dallas. When Adam Thielen comes back, he goes from playing primarily in the slot and having his most success in the slot to moving outside and having success outside. Week 18, he has 7 catches, 62 yards, and he's lined up primarily outside. So he's not just a power slot. He can do the outside work. So that is one of my most aggressive buys on, in the offseason so far.
I like it. I want to see Liggett continue to tumble down these draft boards too, so I can scoop up some of him, because I don't think we've heard the end of his story yet. But I think he and Coker. I think if you could find a good power slot in Coker, if he's got upside over power slot, great. But in PPR leagues, I'll take a point scoring power slot all
Yes.
day long. All day long.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to start the 14th round here. If we run into a rookie whose name I don't know, you got to bail me out. All right, Braylon Allen. We got AD Mitchell at 14-2. It could be worse. That's a good high upside pick right there.
I love
Penix,
it.
Tank Dale, Hollywood Brown, Garendo, solid pickup. Dak Prescott, Jerome Ford, Blake Corum, Jack Betch, old steady Eddie, Jared Goff in the 14th round. I mean, that's what you're talking about. Not a difference maker, but if you're in a 6-point per touchdown league and it takes a little bit of stress off the running quarterback part of it, he's throwing touchdowns. Dallas Goedert, Justin Fields, that's a very nice high upside pick, and he put him on a team with Jalen Hurts and Caleb Williams.
Yeah, this guy's just hoarding quarterbacks at this point. I don't like the fact that he's got 3 quarterbacks, but I mean, getting Justin Fields here. I heard a stat the other day. Justin Fields in his last 24 starts has 11 top 5 quarterback finishes.
Tell me about it. And when you taking Justin Fields in the 15th round, obviously he goes sooner than this in a super flex, but you could tell me this guy could pop on our screen right now and that pick Caleb Williams at 10-12, and he would have probably been like, I'm good on quarterback. And then all of a sudden he's sitting around in the 15th round and Justin Fields is on the board, and he's like, yeah, I'll take him.
Right.
Algier follows it up. Arroyo, Jalen Wright, Arroyo, rookie tight end, Jalen Wright, J.J. McCarthy, Tavion Sanders, Ben Sinnott, waiting behind Ertz again, Brenton Strange, R.J. Harvey, rookie running back, Trevor Lawrence, Bryce Young, Rashad Bateman. Let me go ahead and just run this thing out. We got one more round. Romeo Dubs, I like it. Troy Franklin, Theo Johnson, Demario Douglas. And I was wondering how far he would go down because Steph Diggs showed up in the Patriots town.
Mm-hmm.
We got Jordan James, rookie running back, Whittington, Harold Fannin, rookie tight end, Chig, Rico Dowdle, Kendre Miller, Amari Cooper, free agent, and Wan'Dale Robinson. And we've gotten all of the names called out for our wonderful podcast listeners. Chev, tell us who blew it and who hit a home run in the last couple rounds.
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm a big Ben Sinnott guy. I love outside, man, if this guy didn't have 3 quarterbacks, I would absolutely love this roster right here. I mean, taking a floor play with Dallas Goedert, and then, like I said, I love Jalen Coker. You got a little bit. I mean, you're taking some risk here with Travis Hunter that early, but I mean, if he goes to the Patriots, he's probably their wide receiver 2 now, if not, and competing and vying for targets day 1, as their bona fide wide receiver 2. But yep. I don't love that. He's got too many daggum quarterbacks in a 1 quarterback league. That's the long and short of it for me. So let's find another one here.
Well, while you're looking for another one, this was a 16-round mock, and if you are playing in home leagues where you got 25, 30 roster spots, all of a sudden, even in 1 quarterback, the quarterbacks dry up, and for some reason, you got to have them. Like I had to come to the realization, because if you play on FFPC and it's a short bench, you can roster churn quarterbacks all day long to find one when you need to. That being said, in FFPC, it's about victory points, and you really do got to have a point scoring quarterback in FFPC, because it's not just about how lucky you can get every week, whether or not you get that W against your opponent. You need to be scoring top end points as much as possible. You need quarterback and tight end to be scoring as much as possible every week, because if you're a top 2 seed, if you're the first or the second team in your league, you get a bye week in the playoffs, and you get basically your entire buy-in back. In like a $250 league, you get $200 back if you're a first or second seed at the playoff. You're not getting that if you don't have quarterback points. All right, so the 3 quarterback team, if you're a home league and you're going through a new draft this year, you might want to get a couple quarterbacks, because it's hard. If deep bench, 1 quarterback, for some reason, it feels like home leagues just trade a little bit less sometimes. If you're getting in with a group of guys where they're just going to be trading all the time because they're about that life, that's fine. You can roll the dice and have a little less quarterback presence on your roster coming out of the draft, because you can make some deals. But if you don't know that for sure, just get a couple of them at the end of the draft, so you're not sitting here looking around. If you're, your best guy like Joe Burrow, been out of the league, been out of the lineup many times in the last 2 or 3 years. So if he was your one and only, your team been struggling, and sometimes the other players in your league might get smart and be like, well, if I don't trade him a quarterback because I got 3, and Shev doesn't trade him a quarterback because Shev's got 3, he's not getting many points from his quarterback spot, so he's not as big of a threat. All right, what you got for me, Shev?
Let's go to RG. Well, that's an auto draft team, so you don't get props for auto drafting, but I like the structure of this roster here. I mean, just taking a shot at the end here on. I mean, Calvin Ridley's probably
we on RG. We still on RG?
No, yeah, no. So I was talking like, yeah, RG11 over here.
Yeah,
I like what he did at the in the back here, just kind of scooping up some handcuffs. Scooping up some handcuff running backs. I'm not ready to give up, especially from a dynasty perspective. I'm not ready to give up on Jalen Wright. Call me stupid. Call me whatever you want. I'm not ready to give up on Jalen Wright yet. And then Blake Corum, obviously, if Kyron Williams gets extended, that kind of puts a kibosh on a little bit of Blake Corum hype, but that could be his backfield in 2026.
Well, both of those guys right here, this for the guys that might be really just getting new into this, Blake Corum, Jalen Wright, you said Jalen Wright first. In the NFL, man, you can be third on the depth chart and first on the depth chart by week 3. You can be buried in week 1, and all of a sudden one of the guys got a high ankle sprain and the other guy limped off, and we don't know when he's coming back. He might have had to cart. So I'm not gonna call you stupid for hanging on to Jalen Wright. Shit. Week 1 of the preseason last year, Jalen Wright takes one around the corner, shows that speed, and all of a sudden he's a 112 he's a late first round draft pick in a 1 quarterback league, early second round draft pick in a 2 quarterback league, because everybody got to have a little bit of that speed.
Mm-hmm.
And then the wheels fell off for Miami this year. Achane was awesome when Tua was in the lineup, and their offensive line disappeared. It was the craziest situation for everything that wasn't good for the Dolphins last year. The one thing they got right was when Tua got back on the field after his horrible concussion and the whole conversation about retirement. When Tua got back on the field, he did not hold the ball.
No.
It was fast.
No.
And so we don't know if that type of situation was good for a rookie running back to succeed in. Shev, this is a franchise just trying to take care of the quarterback who cannot handle any bell ringing.
Man,
who cannot get that bell rung.
No, we're 1 hit away from him just having like a monkey banging cymbals up there in his brain. So yeah,
we don't need that. And I don't want anything to happen to Tua at all. No. I will not invest in Dynasty in Tua. It's okay. I'm pulling for Tua. And when something bad happens, if something bad happens, I'm going to hate it and not smile about it. It's going to be awful, but I'm still not putting him on my team.
No,
all right. So I like the Jalen Wright.
We're the same when it comes to that. Casey's a little bit more willing to go with Tua. I'm just not. What do you like here?
Well, I like that you brought up Ben Sinnott, and hopefully you paired that with patience. You might have been, when you were talking about him for a second, my mind might have been scrambled thinking about something else. Let's pair Ben Sinnott with patience, and rightfully so. That patience has pushed us down to the 15th round. That's fine. If you're in the 15th round, you should be taking guys that are high upside, and you should completely forget all about safety, right? And maybe Tua, let's see where Tua went. Maybe Tua's not even off the board yet. So I don't even see Tua. Good for the drafters, right? So, and Tua should be drafted for that conversation. Like, we're not looking for any safety in the 15th round, 16th round. I'm looking for a high upside. I like Braylon Allen. Something happens to Breece Hall, Braylon Allen. I like A.D. Mitchell, but let's just be honest. Like, there's no way it's really working for A.D. Mitchell this year, because you got Josh Downs and you got Pittman and you got a running quarterback. So, like, A.D. Mitchell is not going to be consistent, but he could be lightning in a bottle week or the next.
You said it with Ben Sinnott. You said pair it with patience.
There you go.
Like, that's a traits guy. He's 6'4", he's 200 pounds. He runs a 4.3, and he's got a 40-inch vertical. Pair it with patience.
Pair that with one highlight reel play. And if it happens early enough in the season, you can flip AD Mitchell for some profit right here. Or you can say, hey, I'm going to keep him buried on my bench and he don't need to be anywhere near my starting lineup. Obviously, best ball, AD Mitchell's a great pick. I'm going to go back to I said I liked Grindo when I passed his name in the 14th round. Any 49ers running back is somebody that I want on my team. I'll take as many 49ers running backs as I can get. In 15th round, I don't, by the time all the names come off, like I don't think RJ Harvey goes last to the 15th round in a startup anymore. After, it in a one quarterback league, it's hard to compare and contrast a mock draft of two quarterbacks at this point in the draft. All the names are all scrambled up, but let's, where we are, some of these rookie running backs are just going to get forced up the board because we're going to be talking about them in a couple of weeks ad nauseum. Yeah, I mean, I like the 14th round Dak, but I'm gonna like where Dak gets drafted in any draft anyway because he's just hated on and his value's there.
Yeah.
I mentioned
that's a top 5 quarterback, just sitting in the 14th round.
Yeah, as crazy as it sounds, and we already talked about it, but like in the last 3 rounds here, let me just call off the names of the quarterbacks drafted: Goff, Dak Prescott, JJ McCarthy, Trevor Lawrence, Michael Penix, Bryce Young. And then there's Justin Fields. Justin Fields most likely has the least odds to be a long-term starter. You could pair him up with Bryce Young based on the average of Bryce Young's performances. If you look at the high-end performances of Bryce Young, which there's not a lot, but they were all concentrated on the second half of last year, and he looked a lot better. And my hat's off to Bryce Young for the way he came back and handled himself. I love that. So, but if you look at all those quarterbacks I just named, none of them can touch the QB1 on the week like Justin Fields. What was that stat you gave me? 11 QB1 finishes?
No, 11 top 5 finishes in his last 24 games.
That's almost 50%, bro. Almost half of the time that he's starting a game, he's the top 5 fantasy quarterback. So I don't care if my man has 3 quarterbacks over here. I love that 15th round Justin Fields. Even in a 1 quarterback league, if you got Jalen Hurts up there, Justin Fields never has to come anywhere near your lineup. But you got a guy, on your bench that's scoring high-end points as your 3rd quarterback when he's playing, because if he might not be a starter in this league for long. But when he is, he's top 5 in fantasy almost half the time. That's incredible. And you know what? If I got him, Chev doesn't.
Hey.
If I got him buried on my bench, which is exactly what I was talking about earlier, in a home league, even though you think it's 1 quarterback and you can just find him anywhere. I was preaching that for 8 years, Chev. But if you in a 1 quarterback league and they dry up on you, you still got to have one. And if I got Justin Fields on my bench, he ain't in your starting lineup, Chev, and I'm taking that championship.
I'm blocking. Yeah, I'm blocking all day long. I'm a hater. I will hoard, especially when it comes down to nut cutting time. Like I'm gonna hoard quarterbacks, especially in a situation like this where that guy could very easily. It doesn't take a lot of heavy lifting to get Justin Fields to that 60 yards in a touchdown and 200 yards in a passing touchdown just on a weekly basis. That's it. That's all it takes.
The question is he going to be a starter next year for somebody because of all the times that it didn't go right? Because the times that he wasn't a top 5 fantasy quarterback, then his team probably got blown out because he wasn't a good NFL quarterback yet. But
that's the flip side of it is the other half of those games, he might have been like quarterback 19 on the week where it was a friendly matchup and he just decided not to get the ball out early or turn the ball over way too much or whatever the case may be.
Right. And let's not forget that Justin Fields started his career in Chicago, who has never had a good quarterback ever. They don't even know how to treat quarterbacks. The flashes of great quarterback were the ones where Justin Fields was running 70-yard touchdowns. So anyway, on our way out the door here, Chev, you got anything you want to throw out there before we hang these things up?
No, man, this was fun. This is real good. I got to sharpen up. I need to sharpen up big time on my 1 quarterback values because this is different. Like I said, we're always doing 2 quarterback mocks and startups that involve 2 quarterbacks. So this was a great thought exercise to get, especially with these quarterbacks kind of being pushed down like this.
Yeah, fair point. Me too. Like, especially like halfway in the draft when I was calling out names, and it's hard for me to compare that value, even on the spot, I'm pretty solid when it's on the spot values, but like just being one quarterback and saying, Evan Ingram in the 10th round or Keon Coleman in the 9th round, it's like, because I don't know, we just live in the superflex world where like I'm loving where Keon Coleman is going in the superflex right now, but in 9-8 and a one quarterback, I can't even compute that right this second, so we need to do more of this, not that I'm gonna do a whole bunch of one quarterback startups this year, but I need to be able to help out our guys that are coming up in the ranks here, because that's what this is all about.
Yep, we're doing the work so you don't have to.
Well, thanks so much for all the help. I enjoyed it. This was a lot of fun. One quarterback for the peeps out there, for all of the one quarterback lovers. This was a fun exercise, man. Hope you enjoyed it, bro.
Man, this was a good time. Like I said, this is always, man, I'm always down to talk about. It's always good to kind of hear other sounding board thoughts as far as what's going to be, what somebody else's thought process is. You said so. You dropped some gems. I actually need to go back and I'm gonna have to watch this again.
We'll do some more together, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, later, y'all.
Yeah.